Why aren't people getting married? Is marriage simply for those who are privileged? That was the question in regard to a survey done by the American Enterprise Institute and Opportunity America. As we know, the percentage of people getting married has decreased over recent years. And so what are the reasons behind it? Now, marriage has sharply declined among people without college degrees while staying steady among college graduates with higher incomes. So just to give you the specific numbers, 26% of poor adults, 39% of working class adults, and 56% of middle and upper class adults ages 18 to 55 are married. So the number or the percentage is much lower for those who are living in poverty or struggling economically. Now to compare, back in 1990, the numbers were very different. So in 1990, 51% of poor adults, 57% of working class adults, and 65% of middle and upper class adults were married. One of the main reasons that respondents mentioned was that, when it comes to men who are struggling with their finances, who might not have good jobs, women are less likely to be interested in marrying them, and so that could be part of the reason. Also, just over half of adolescents in poor and working class homes live with both of their biological parents, compared with 77% in middle and upper class homes. So even though less people are getting married when it comes to a certain socioeconomic status, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're having less kids. Now, the overall birth rate in America has decreased slightly, but for the most part, birth rates have been steady.
Yeah.
So that's a big number, a big difference. 51% in 1990 of poor adults, which is the lowest 20th percentile in income, now only 26%, so cut in half basically. And look, there's a couple of different factors, and it is interesting. One of the most interesting parts is that so the poor economy can lead to a vicious cycle, which creates this. But once it sets into the culture, it then becomes really hard to reverse. Which I actually think we don't necessarily have to reverse. The American Enterprise Institute is a conservative think tank. They might have partly done this study. I'm not doubting the results of the study, but they might have done this study to say, see, more people should get married. Not necessarily, folks are right that if you go in the order that they, in the sequence of getting a degree first, then getting a job, then getting married, then having a baby, you're more likely to stay out of poverty and have higher income. But it's not necessarily a causation. It might be a correlation. And if you have a degree, of course you're more likely to have a better job. And if you're the kind of person who's stable enough to have those things, you might have a higher income. You might have been born into a situation where you're more likely to have a higher income, which allows you to get married and have an expensive wedding, et cetera. So I just think the trend is very real, but it might also have to do with our views about marriage overall, and that maybe we're not monogamous.
I think what Anna touched on regarding women, obviously not being as interested in men who have no prospects. That's a very basic element to marriage. Usually that's a factor at some level of what this is. It should be for men also, theoretically. But I just imagine that income inequality, and that's what there's been a dramatic change in income inequality since 1990. The biggest drop here is, as Cenk said, half of it, a 25-point drop from 51 to 26. For working class adults, it's an 18-point drop, and for richer adults, it's just middle and upper class, it's just a 9% drop. So it's at the bottom end where the most significant decline is. And I just imagine that, again, if you're poor and you have no prospects, then yeah, getting married and starting a life together and having a family together that also feels you might have prospects, but you don't feel like you have any. I imagine that's a definite impediment. And I think as long as there is this gap in income inequality, that there will be social consequences to that. And this is probably, or a good bet, I don't know, a good bet this is one of those consequences.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, I guess I would also argue that the centrality of like a white wedding and the cost of that wedding is also a deterrent to folks wanting to get married, and the increase of cohabitation. And also a lot of folks with college degrees are also poor. So, so there's a lot of things that need to be unpacked in terms of how they kind of collected this data, and I expect that there's also differences across race in terms of some of the cultural elements that kind of contribute to folks getting married earlier or later and across certain socioeconomic statuses.
So one cultural issue is, for example, Mormons get married earlier, generally speaking, and so those are among the factors not considered in this study. But look, that's why I think the right-wing view of the world is often comical, black and white. No, it's a matter of morality, right? No, of course socioeconomic conditions play into these overall trends that we're seeing in the country. If socioeconomic conditions didn't play a role, then why isn't the marriage rate consistent throughout all the different classes? And it's not.
Right.
And it depends on your, as Ben just pointed out all the numbers and Anna did too, it's a huge difference if you're poorer as opposed to if you have more money. And then culture does matter, but that's where I disagree with conservatives. And so I said, a lot of you won't remember this, but there was this huge scandal when TV show Murphy Brown had a female character have a child out of wedlock.
Murphy Brown.
Yeah, and it was like, oh, I can't believe she did it and stuff. And Dan Quayle spoke out against it and said it was going to have a cultural effect. I agreed with conservatives that it was going to have a cultural effect. I disagreed with them that it was a bad thing, right? And I think overall, we as a culture are beginning to say, I don't know that we need marriage. And so.
Yeah, but I mean, look, the numbers do bear out the fact that if you're married and you have a child, you're more likely to stay together. It's not a guarantee, obviously. A lot of couples with kids divorce all the time, but you're more likely to stay together, and that child is more likely to be raised in a household with both of his or her biological parents. And I think that's important. I think that's important because I mean, it's difficult for single mothers to make ends meet, and I think that certain necessities to create a good foundation for that kid are compromised as a result of that. Now, I'm making generalizations, so I just want to be clear. Just because you're a single mom doesn't mean that you're not able to provide. There are lots of single moms that are doing a great job, but we know how expensive education is. We know how difficult it is considering wages being stagnant. So having a dual income household is important for these kids.
I just feel like we're trying to hold on to the horse and buggy. So yeah, right now in this window of time, if you're married and you got both biological parents, you're statistically more likely to be better off. But eventually the culture will shift and adjust, and we might find a new way of cohabitating that still makes sure that the kids are all right and that the income levels are not affected. And we haven't yet, so we're in this middle ground now where marriage is disintegrating and we don't have a great second answer. But it doesn't mean that we just hold on to marriage for dear life.
I know, but if you're here's what I don't get. If you're gonna cohabitate and raise a child together, I mean, why not get married and get that sweet tax, like you get a tax cut?
I know, but that's why, again, why the government getting involved in that is preposterous. You're encouraging marriage, and I just don't think that that's necessarily the right answer going forward.
It's a big change. It's not worth fighting it. I mean, so I would say, yeah, it might happen, but it's not going to happen as fast as you think. Nothing happens as fast as you think. So, like marriage,
often wrong about timing. It's true.
Yeah, you're probably right, but you're right like 5 generations from now. So it's important that marriage. There's a value in staying married for kids. If you don't have kids, get out now.
I don't know that I go that far.
But if you do have kids, like if we're going to make a change, it shouldn't just be strengthening marriage. I mean, everybody. You have kids?
I don't. That's why I was just thinking about some things.
Like I couldn't remember. like we need a third person. Like you don't just need a mom and dad. Like there should be. I mean,
liberals.
Yeah. I mean, 2 dads, another mom. But if we didn't have a kid, I'm pretty sure my wife would have left me last night.
Yeah.
If you like this clip of the Young Turks, there's a whole live 2-hour show, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern every day, and you can download it or stream it and watch it without ads if you become a member. tytnetwork.com/join.